What's up, everyone? This is Daryl Andrews, Coach D, coming you from the Coach's Den here in my man cave, and really excited about what we're doing here. I'm seeing a little sign that says connection is unstable, so hopefully people can see this and hear this, and so we'll see. But I committed to my Thursdays when possible, depending on the schedule. I just got done with a training with a wonderful group in Philadelphia, about 75 or so of their staff. And we were talking about emotional intelligence, which is really exciting. Dug into why it's necessary, why it's needed. And boy, I was really, really impressed with the interaction. People talk about this virtual stuff, man. We got this thing wired. I mean, I'm telling you now, the way we do these trainings, you would think that we're sitting right there with the people, because there is a way to do virtual trainings that are very interactive, very engaging. And man, just loving this new space that we're in. And like I said before, I'm not waiting and looking forward to go back to where it was. I like right where it is right now. I love sitting here and impacting people all over the world from my man cave and from my office. And we're able to impact more people because of the wide-reaching effect of technology. So, like I said, this is my new normal. And speaking of that, today is our racial equity lunch and learn. We mentioned on Thursdays we're going to try to do a quick little lunch and learn regarding racial equity. As many of you know, I'm authoring in a book as we speak entitled "Equity is a Head Issue." It's not a head issue; it's a heart issue. We've got customers all over the country now where we're consulting with our Equity 3M framework. And so we are in the mix. And I'll tell you something, we have some customers we're working with that are killing it. I mean, killing it. And it's so funny because when we first started, people would just had questions and people were like, okay, what's going on? I don't quite understand everything. But after we go through the original, what we call conversations and trainings, then all of a sudden people are like, wow, okay, I see this. And that's a good segue into what I'm going to talk about, because I'm going to say something that's going to get me in a little bit of trouble. You know what I mean? And here's what's going to get me in a little trouble. There's a reason why some diversity programs don't work. I talked about this before, but there's some reasons why diversity programs don't work. Hey, Hamill, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Hope all is well. And I think the approach has a lot to do with it. And I don't think it, I know it. Because this is what I found. You're not able to have meaningful conversations about anything when it's just a bunch of headbutting. So what typically happens is people will do stuff like they'll go through a training or involved with an initiative. But if it's headbutting, guess what? They're never going to change. People don't change through headbutting. People change through collaboration and synergy, being able to engage individuals where they are, even if where they are does not align to where I am. All right. And now let me make this clear, because some folks think you got to fight all the time. Yeah, there's sometimes you do have to battle. All right. But then there's sometimes you need to educate. All right. And so what we found is that educating is a powerful tool, because what happens is people now are willing to have a conversation with you. And so most programs over the years have been headbutting, like not considering where people are, considering people's knowledge or lack of knowledge, not considering people's lifetime of thinking a certain way, and then all of a sudden expect them to change tomorrow. Well, I think there's things in my life that have happened. I ain't changing tomorrow. I'm still trying to work them out. But being able to have a conversation with me, at least I'll be open to start thinking about it. So when I say we have customers in this diverse equity DEI space that's kicking butt, it's because we've gotten through that initial phase via conversation, not via slapping around and making you, force you, and labeling you and calling you this, pointing fingers at you. Because some people don't gonna find this, because again, some people just want to fight all the time. Not everybody is racist. Not everybody is racist. Some people just lack knowledge. You know what I mean? Which kind of causes some of the microaggressions and some of the biases. You know what I mean? That's like, as an African American, I don't like when people say to me, all blacks are criminals. You know what I mean? I'm like, we're not all criminals. We're not all troublemakers. We're not all. So to put everybody in a group into a box and say they're all like that, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Just what I'm saying. Educating the collaborate. There you go. There it is. Yeah. There it is. That's it. So, it says Facebook user. I don't know who that is, but I hear you. And so we got to understand this is about conversations, man. And Karen, I like how you said understanding with love. I think I shared with you I'm on a committee. I'm on a board with Clarence Jones, who was the one who wrote the Dr. Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. You know what I mean? I have a dream speech, and so I'm on this board of his social advocacy group. And what he said in one of our meetings was that Dr. Martin Luther King used to say every day, he and Harry Belafonte said this, one of these meetings we were in, said that show them radical love. I know it doesn't feel like we should, but show it anyway. And I said, man, the way he broke that down, it was just like, you can feel it because he was in the throes of the civil rights movement, being hosed and being beaten, and he's still talking about showing radical love. I said, man, that's deep. So what I realized is that, okay, we're not in the 60s anymore, but we can still show respect. You see what I'm saying? We can still show respect. Yeah, we can still show respect for people and have a conversation. Cliff, how you doing, man? God, man, it's been a lot of years since we've connected. How's everything? Hope all is well, man. Hope all is well. And so I just want to take a moment. We're talking about racial equity. And this is a race. We do this every Thursday. We have a Monday Wisdom with Coach D at 10. And then we have a Thursday at noon conversations around racial equity, because this is a lot of the work that we're doing. And I don't want to keep the love to just my customers. I want to share it to people that we're interacting with, because I think this is the subject of our generation. And until the United States gets this right, there's going to be other things. We're going to lose out on so many opportunities. We call ourselves a great nation, man. We're not going to be great till we get this right. And so I want to talk about that. But today I just want to take a moment and talk about the motivation that's needed for racial equity. I shared with you some information a few weeks ago where I painted a picture, and I had you take a look at the basketball, let's say, during the 50s, and the Lakers, who had won the championships. The Lakers been winning championships for years. But what you had was these Caucasian guys with these little high shorts on and these big long socks. There wasn't a black person on that team. And so when you look at the videos of those games, what you find is these guys run up and down the court shooting set shots. It was packing out the stadium with like maybe 1,000 people. All right. But they were the Lakers and they were the champions and they were the best, and set shots and high socks and set shots. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say Caucasians are not athletic. Don't get me wrong. But that's what it was in the 50s. Well, then here comes people like Elgin Baylor, and people like Bill Russell, and people like Wilt Chamberlain. The game changed a little bit. Then all of a sudden, stadiums went from like 1,000 to 10,000 and 20,000. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor. And then something else happened. Went a little bit further and made equity a thing in sports. So this is important. It was no longer based upon your skin color. It was based upon your talent. Oh, if I can get corporations and organizations all over the world to see this. It was about the talent. So they decided we're going to, with sports, we're going to have full-blown equity. It was challenged when it comes to coaching and management, but that's another story, and ownership. But for the sports realm, equity. And so back in the 50s, you got these guys shooting these little set shots, and they couldn't, man, just 500 people in the stadium, to now you got 50,000 people packing these places out, and these athletes making it a show. Owners, here's the economic power. Owners went from trying to just survive in the 50s and 40s with these teams to now some of the wealthiest people in the world. That's the power of racial equity. When we give people a chance based upon their talents and not their skin color, it's amazing sometimes what can happen from an economic standpoint when we bring a mix of talent into the equation. And so like this, I had a conversation with someone recently and they said, well, there's some people that are deeply concerned that they're going to lose out if more black folks are allowed to be in certain things. I said, well, tell that to the owners of the basketball team. Where are they losing out? I don't think so. Tell that to Hollywood. Are they losing out? I don't think so. When they allowed equity, they grew. Because why? Now you have a diversity of talent that can bring a different spin to doing things the way that it's always been done. There's a lot of lessons, man. We need to understand. This nation has this thing where they think that it's going to be an economic, dearth because of this. I'm here to tell you right now, it's going to be an economic explosion when we start doing racial equity. We saw it back when the Black Wall Street. We have glimpses of it historically. Now that was torn down because people didn't want racial equity, but those people were making millions of dollars back in the 20s because they were allowed to. But then people said, no, we don't want that. And then they tore it down. And then all of a sudden that economy of all those regions went to pot. So what am I saying? A lot of people say why and what's going on. Man, this economic impact thing is powerful. When you allow people to have opportunity based upon talent, okay? Talent. And not, just look at it, well, we want to keep a certain amount of people. We'll let a few people in, a few people. No, no. What do they offer? What's their skill sets, man? And if they have the ability to, maybe they could even bring to the table something that you haven't considered. I remember speaking for this major corporation. They were having some big challenges, man. And they flew me in on a private jet, and I spoke to all 8,000 of their senior managers. And I found out prior to the event, a lot of them were concerned. We're bringing this guy in. Who is he? Black man. Don't know him. And there was some concerns because they've been listening to all these Harvard professors and Yale professors, and they flying them back and forth in, and they weren't moving the needle at all. And I got up on that stage and I broke some stuff down and shared some thoughts. It was about organizational core values and all that kind of stuff. And when I got done, president of that company said, I had never seen anything like this before. And this power of that speech helped to redefine this corporation. Why? Because I was given a chance to. I was given a chance. You see, and so sometimes we got to understand that the motivation for racial equity is there could be talent that you are just keeping away from making things bigger and better by giving them a chance, by giving people a chance. That's why I focus on equity, because equity is equal opportunity based upon talents, not race and color. It's equity. If you got the ability to do it, let's just do it. Let's give you the shot. Let's let you get in here. And so what I want to leave you with today, all right, is racial equity has, and write this down if you're a note taker, racial equity has economic benefits. It does. Now, I know there's millions of people that watch LinkedIn. I know probably on mine, even though I can only see so many that show up, I know there could be thousands watching. And there's some people that have some serious issues with race. And I know those people are going to always be there. They're going to always be there. But the ones who don't and just kind of lack understanding is basically understanding that we all have skills and abilities that we can add to the pot that makes the United States, that makes all these other countries that are ethnically diverse better. But we got to be motivated to do it. You got to have the motivation. You got to motivate people to want to do this, at least analyze it, look at it, talk about it. A lot of what we do with our groups is about analysis. We're analyzing this stuff. Like, oh, you see me, I'm motivational, but when you work with me, we're strategic. We're not just getting y'all amped up. That only lasts like a week. We're talking about going deep into strategy that's going to create a culture in which racial equity is embraced. But it takes the team being motivated, but it also takes the leaders being willing to go outside of their box, outside of the box, and think about what can we do to open up the door to new possibilities through racial equity. What would it look like? If you want to have that conversation, reach out to me, because we talk about this stuff all day long with customers all over the country. And sometimes not just customers, but people, podcasts, blogs, that's my website there, coachdspeaks.com. You can go on there and schedule 15, 20 minutes to talk about this stuff. But I'm telling you right now, we have what's called the Equity 3M framework. We talk about mindset, motivation, and memorization, the cultural part of racial equity. And keep in mind, we don't expect to come in and do this stuff and everybody changes overnight. This is a process. Most of my customers, 6 months to 2 years. It all depends on what they want to do, because we're not talking about an overnight thing. If any of you out there watching have had some success with DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion in your organization, type it in the chat feature. I would love to hear some of your stories, maybe some of the things you've been able to do, because right now this is a topic in our country and we can all learn from one another. You know what I mean? And for those who out there who don't fully understand what's going on, because people are like, well, why is this such a topic now? And why are we having this conversation? It's because if we don't have it, then with the 400 years of stuff that people of color have been going through, it will never change. The discrepancy in academics, the discrepancy in jobs, the discrepancy it's just always, that's why we hear these terms I can't stand, like marginalized and underserved. Well, you're only marginalized and underserved because you're not getting any opportunity. You give a person, the Asians get opportunities and they're not underrepresented and marginalized, and the Jews get opportunity, they're not underrepresented and marginalized. When the opportunities is given, that changes. And so what racial equity is about is giving opportunities, and that impacts communities, that impacts families, that impacts states, that impacts nations and regions. But when it's not happening, that's when you start hearing all this stuff in the news that drives me crazy. Because all the research, Black, underrepresented, unmarginalized, I like, man, if I hear that one more time, because then everybody just looks at Black people and that's what they think. I say, how about what African-American, talented, gifted, just need opportunities? Maybe we should change the language a little bit and stop kind of subliminally putting that message out to society all the time when there's so much talent in our race that just need opportunity. So racial equity is really about understanding the power of it and how to make it happen, and learning how to interact with people of color, Black and brown people, when you don't understand it. Dr. Jennifer Eberhardt in her book Bias talks about the other race effect, how people are just comfortable in their own race. So hiring, promoting, giving opportunities is more comfortable to people that I know because I'm used to that circle. I know how people in that circle think. But what the goal is of bias, because she talks about bias in her book, is, let's eliminate that biases and start thinking about the bigger picture of opportunity. So that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, reach out to us. I'm going to stay on this subject every Thursday. It's a lunch and learn. And I'm going primarily, since it's not a workshop, I got to share like this because I don't, but that's my email address. If you have any questions, I sincerely hope that folks grab some of this. I know it's an uncomfortable topic, but we make it comfortable in our work. Go to our website, take a look at some of the things we're doing under virtual equity motivation. But most importantly, realize that there's an economic benefit to this. And the more we start to diversify from an equity perspective in the United States and beyond, because I know there's other countries that are part of this conversation right here, then what you're going to find is it's going to have a benefit, significant benefit to the strength of wherever you are, United States, Canada, Caribbean, doesn't matter. So that's all I have for today. Thank you. Take care. Hope this information was helpful, and please share it with other people. Take care. Bye-bye.